What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Get On My Level. This is episode 10. We've actually got a few things to go over today. I don't think too much we're going to go super deep in detail into. God knows, you know us. We just like to say shit. I think we've got a couple fun stories. I think another interesting little scandal going on. Before we get into that, say what's up, life.
What's happening? What's happening, everybody?
And as always, we're joined by our eccentric friend, Android.
Howdy. Howdy, howdy. Tis
Um,
I.
yeah, I don't know how a lot of this is going down. So before we get into it, how was everybody's week? How we doing? Everything good? Gaming pretty good for everybody? Any interesting
Yeah.
tidbits you picked up that maybe we can drop in notes?
Oh,
No.
actually, man, I was
No.
looking at a story the other day,
Huh.
and it was honestly it was a YouTuber that I was watching. I want to say his name was Waiting. I think that's the YouTuber. His name is a Rocket League YouTuber,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about two things, right? One, he was talking about how the boom of Rocket League helped his channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
The boom of Rocket League, the growth of in popularity of Rocket League, the free to play, right?
Yeah, because
But
you're getting an influx of new people. Blah blah blah.
correct, and they're all looking for it. He was like, basically, they're all looking for training videos. They're trying to figure out how to get better, this, that, and the third. They're trying to learn more about the game and some of the nuance to it.
Yeah.
But as he showed his numbers, it basically spiked when everything became open
Mm-hmm.
and have returned to fucking normal.
Yeah.
And basically he started talking about the viability of Rocket League and how difficult it was for them to upgrade and update it compared to, and this is, and when I say how difficult it is to upgrade, I mean in relation to what's out there currently from like the Unreal Engine. Currently they're running Unreal 3, I believe.
Yes, it's Unreal 3. That's the biggest issue is they're running on
Yeah,
super dated software. That's their biggest
correct.
problem.
Oh, so they're trying to figure out how to start running it on a new engine then?
Well, no.
We don't know.
Well, and that was another part of it. That was another part of his point. And this was so dope to me. I mean, I was just watching it and I was like, damn, it's something to bring up because it was like, shit, they're stuck at a crossroads right now, really, where it's like, damn, do we develop more on this old platform? Do we recode everything, move it to a new platform, and try to continue on with the same game, or do we just build out Rocket League 2? And I was like, shit.
From what I
He's
understand, um, now this is a lot of my information comes from the ex play-by-play announcer analyst Lawler.
Yeah,
I watch his videos quite often because he still has a lot of people, in the scene.
and
Um,
I just want to give you the YouTuber's name is Wayton Pilkins. Wayton Waton Pilkin.
all right, fair enough. Fair.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Just wanted to give that out if you want to go check him out. Uh, it was just an interesting thing because it was literally, man. You like, man, I love to play this game, but we haven't seen new content for like real new content. We
Well,
haven't really,
yeah,
all we've seen is decals and dumb shit.
with the video I watched on Lawler's stream the other day, they did just post something on Reddit, I believe, talking about tournaments is getting a new update. They didn't specify what new update was, but me and you play tournaments. Um,
Yep.
uh, uh, any type of fixes towards that is welcome. I mean, I would like to see it more fleshed out, but hey, this is Cyanix we're talking about after all.
Right.
Um, they said they're changing the way ranked and unranked playlists are something about that. I don't, like I said, a lot of it's real vague. They're talking about cleaning up the voice chat system. Like they're supposedly wanting to implement things that the community's been suggesting. And if you know anything about the community, a lot of it's based on workshop maps and stuff like that. We don't know because again, they didn't specify shit. Go figure, huh?
I mean, yeah, and that was one of the other things. Man, remember when they used to lay out roadmaps of what was coming
Yeah, that's
and when it
basically
was coming?
that was basically this, but a very vague roadmap. They were like, "Yeah, we understand that we're not getting information out like we once were." They're like, due to the basically they basically said how since the seasonal change thing happened,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of made it where that fell on the back burner, because they're you know unless it's a major update, they're not really putting much out about it. And I'm like, I see that. Of course, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get it, right? Like, unless
Yeah.
you're putting something out major and you don't have an actual time frame, because that's the big thing is they don't really have time frames, is what they're saying. They're like, you know, they're like, once season 4 drops, you'll see a lot of new stuff that we've been, kind of keeping under wraps. And they're like,
Yeah.
and we'll start talking about what season 5 could have in store. And that's what everybody's like. Like I said, I'm watching all the stream, and he's like, that's what all the people he's talked to. He's been low key hinting at major changes that are about to happen to the pro scene, and that's what I'm excited for. I'm like, okay, what the fuck are they about to do?
Yeah.
Um,
That
because
would be interesting. Like,
because
what
with the
could
way,
they do?
yeah, because with the way RLCS has changed already, with RLCSX, which is this last season,
Yeah.
it's
Which I'm gonna stop you right there. I want to ask you a quick question.
Mhm.
Do you like the new structure?
no. And
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I say that
I just wanted to know if you because
it needs to be
go
more
ahead, go ahead.
structured. It needs to
There
be
we
more
go.
structured. That's the biggest
Thank
issue.
you.
I love that there's so much stuff, but I don't know what it's for 99% of the time.
And that's
Um,
the problem.
I don't really think you need to be like showing all the grid matches. Um, because it doesn't really matter. Like they get points for the grid, but it doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
In the grand scheme of things, you're looking to accumulate points to get the world. So the majors and like other things like that should be the main things that you focus on broadcasting. And it seems like they're just pumping in so much fucking information that we can't ever get a solid read on what the fuck's going on.
So to me, the only thing and don't get me wrong, I like that they're putting out more games, more content. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's dope in the fact that we get to see more of some of our favorite teams. The
Mhm.
problem is it was a lot. Like
Every fucking
literally,
day.
they were starting from like Thursday, Friday, and running all the way through Sunday, 7 o'clock ish.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like I said, the grid went through the week. So if they're showing
yeah,
certain grid games, like it may not come up on your game client, but there's games going on. So like if you tune into other broadcasts, because the grid, like RL, their stream didn't do it, but like
yeah.
version 1 or NRG would have people
Oh yeah, I
covering,
remember that. Yep.
and that I don't like, because some of the people that they have covering it are not good at it. And I'm not trying to be mean. It is what it is. You have like no name people. Okay, well, like an example, G2 had Athena and some other guy covering their games.
That's what I don't like.
I don't, I
I
don't
don't like
dislike her, right? Like she's not a bad player or person, but she is not good at calling a game. She's just not.
and that's my problem too. That was part of my problem is especially when they would spread it out like team because basically what was happening was there were so many games that Rocket League can only host so many games. And
Mm-hmm.
then they would have sister channels host, which was fine, like Rocket Street Live and just different Johnny Boy and different people like that. But when
Yeah,
it
see, when
started to
Johnny Boy
get
did
down
it, that
to
was
the
nice.
yeah, but when it got down to the team aspect of one team is gonna host, but they're also providing the commentary. So it was very weird and it wasn't together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was like stumbling into a NASCAR race and trying to figure out who's in first in the points. Who's really driving for to win this race based on points.
Yeah,
That's what it felt like
yeah.
because who was in number 1 didn't necessarily matter because the person at 15th is still so far ahead in points that
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I agree with you
And
on that.
I feel like, man, they got to do something. I feel like if you're a top team in the week before you, all those top teams should be your 2 hours of play.
Yeah,
Those
something like that.
those teams should be the ones
Yeah.
we see, the ones we premiere.
Well, I do like it. My big thing is okay. So, how do you feel about this? Because Rocket League is one of the few semi-major esports that has yet to do it. Do you think they should franchise? Because it is getting hard to keep up with teams, players, people coming and going.
I don't
I'm
know.
not a
It's
huge
man,
fan
that's
of it, but at the same time, like we lose Cloud9 due to reasons like this. We lost Evil Geniuses, some big name orgs for other orgs that don't matter, and like it'll also make it where like the turnaround's not as much, but well, due to their current format, right? Like they've already limited the
well,
turnaround
and
on
that was
players.
that was that was part of the issue was there because they weren't willing to give out enough information to teams going forward. Teams had to make a decision based on
Mhm.
what they knew currently
Yeah.
and had to back out of Rocket League with the caveat of we may return at some point later when shit is fixed and
Yeah.
figured out and together.
And
So to me,
most of them won't return unless they get top tier talent.
oh
Um,
yeah, unless they can be guaranteed the talent to succeed or to have some level of success, then
mhm.
they don't want to move forward in it. Which I understand because right now the way it's set up is kind of it's freelance. It's whoever can acquire whoever, but there's teams that are structured like NRG
Mhm.
is stacked top to bottom. That's a staple. Like that
Yep.
team's not moving anywhere. So when you come in as a new team and you're picking from the scraps of the scraps and nobody wants to join you and you got to pay less than everybody else, it's kind of hard to come up. It's like going against the Yankees every time. You know what I mean? Like,
True.
and you just a motherfucking you an expansion team. Like, bruh, they don't have time to build out. So in those situations, man, I feel like Rocket League has to do something. They have to do something to compensate, or I can't even say Rocket League because now it's Epic Games. Epic
Yeah.
Games has to do something to step in and make it a more competitive scene overall. I almost feel like, man, we just need drafts at this point. Like, do
Hmm.
you know how crazy it would be if all the orgs just had to redraft? Salaries
Yeah.
were preset. If salaries were preset and negotiated, and it was a players' association.
Well, that's one thing they're talking about is possibly putting together a union.
Yeah,
That's kind of it's weird because you have a bunch of little kids, and that's again one of the biggest issues with a lot of esports. A lot of these are kids at the end of the day.
no, definitely. But that's the problem. Right now, the way it's run is it's almost like it's being ran by these kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
instead of instead of the adults coming in and giving it structure and giving it format, they just kind of winging it, trying to figure it out as they go along. But in doing so, we get mixed results, and it plays out right there on your computer screen or on your TV screen as you watch these matches,
mhm.
and you see somebody like a G2 play somebody like what was the Desperados. Like that shit is not entertaining. That shit ain't fun to watch. Them get their dicks
Well,
beat off.
and not
no,
in a
I
good
think
way.
that is fun to watch. No, I'm kidding. But like, what would you do if it was your kid though? Like I don't know if you have kids, life, but I know Dragons has kids. Like what would you guys do if that was your kid in an esport? You saw that they were being like mistreated, or like what? Not to
Um,
say that people in esports definitely are, right? But I think there
Yeah.
probably is some mistreatment
To
in a sense.
to a
oh no,
degree.
there's
Yeah.
hella
To a degree.
exploitation going on
Yeah.
in esports.
To a degree, like you're gonna
So,
have that. That's kind of like it's like
right. So
any
like
brand new sport. Well,
as a
that's
parent,
just
what
it.
would you
Like
do?
most of them don't have very much say in it. Like take one of the bigger names in Europe, Scrub Killer. He's got a horrible reputation. Um,
But
I can't
he's
say
kind of
that it's
he's kind of
justified.
earned his rep.
Yeah, I can't say that it's justified or not. But like I said, it's one of those things. Like if you're a parent of said child, right? And this is one of those things that we kind of talked about before, right? How do you tell your kid not to be a little toxic shit and be a team player these days? How do you do
No,
that? Because Scrub doesn't have a team, and he's arguably one of the best talents in the world.
no. What happened in Scrub was supposed to happen in anything.
Yeah.
When you bratty and you a piece of shit personally,
Yeah. Oh, I don't disagree. I don't
it
disagree.
makes you a cancer to everything. When you can't have good team chemistry. But that's to me, that's why I feel like the draft is necessary. I feel like it would be at this point, it's too established to not have a draft. If you get
Well, I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
yeah, like I said, I'm not even sure a draft would fix it. Just they need to have like a more structured, like you have players as coaches, bro, and like most of these
True.
players are in their early 20s at that, right? You don't have you have players getting mad because they're getting disciplined. In some cases, rightfully so, right? Like some of the shit that Rocket or Sonics did. But at the same time, it's like people get mad because so and so gets fined in the NFL for a hit or whatever. They've still got to suck it up and deal with that fine. Like you just
Yep.
next time you're gonna be just a wee bit more careful because you ain't trying to get fined. You can't sit here and babysit these kids that want to play pro and they're making pretty decent fucking money, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things. Like it's a job, you're expected to act a certain way. While I don't agree with probably some of the methods, that's not for me to decide, right? Like I don't run the game. It's not my game. I don't have any say over it. If it's my kid, I'm telling him to shut the fuck up and do what he's told. Because this is what he wants to do. Because at the well, no, like at the end of the day,
No,
like
no,
at the end of the
I
day,
agree.
like
I feel
it's
you.
like, look, what we do is you hold yourself because it's like the real world, right? Like if you go into a job and you don't like some of the shit, you don't fucking flip desk and shit because you're jeopardizing your next job, right?
I feel you. I feel you.
I'm not saying
I totally
stay
agree.
there. I'm not saying whatever, but you don't sit there and go on your Twitter account and blast the company that you're technically working for, which is Sinex at the end of the day, right? Because they can ban you from playing. That's
Yeah, that's the part that you don't want to do. I mean, but under normal
yeah.
in a normal job, blasting one job and then trying. I mean, it could hurt you.
Yeah, I'm
If
not
the
saying it
employer
won't,
goes out
but
there and searches. But
it's one of those like if you're looking to work for certain places, you kind of have to like be be smart about how you leave said job. Like you can say some shit, but you can't just be like, "Oh fuck Karen, fuck Frank, blah blah blah." Because if you go to a high profile next job, more than likely they're gonna reach out to your old jobs and be like, "Hey, you
you
know,
can do that, bro. But you got to point out the correct people as being cool. Like HR, y'all cool.
this motherfucker."
You know what I mean?
But no, as far as that goes, I don't know. On the pro scene,
UI. Like, but
on
go
the
ahead.
on the pro scene, I don't know. There's no real easy fix. Because there's just too many problems that have been allowed to happen for too long, and it's like how much energy is Psyonix going to dump into it, right? And it's not just them. Like the orgs do need to start taking certain responsibilities for it, which I've seen some do, right? Like some are getting actual like um, facilities and like coaches that are not like fucking Sis. Like who the fuck is Sis coaching? Let's be
Yeah,
fucking be honest
that shit
here.
is funny.
Like that's a joke. And that's the mentality that a lot of these players have is like, well, how are you going to bring somebody in to tell me how to do what I already know how to do because I'm at a high level? It's like, bro, Jerry Rice had trainers and people that worked with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the little bit of the ego, some of these people need to let go and understand that it is a business that you can be helped. He's like, it could be small shit like you messed up on a rotation here, because you don't always see everything you do wrong. So shit like that, it just needs to be more structured in a actual professional way. And I think Rocket League hasn't made it there yet, which I can't say a lot of esports have made it there. The more I think about it, there's a lot of esports that are probably 6 times worse than Rocket League, and they've been around longer. So will it ever get fixed? Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the question. I think that's the crossroads we're at. Is how much more fixing are they going to do in this game, as opposed to developing and building out a new game and
Uh,
making it and moving it to a new platform off of Unreal 3. And that's the new platform I'm talking about, not like a console or anything like that.
That's one of the things they haven't really said anything about, but they've hinted at. They know, you know what I mean? Like they understand what their limitations are, so at least they understand. So that's a start. You know what I mean? Like the company realizing it's like, hey, we're basically where we're at with this. We have to do one of two things, and hopefully they pick one that we like.
Hey, hold on, bro. I'll be right back.
Well, shit,
Right
man.
back.
You know, Rocket League's been out for a minute now, hasn't it? Though.
About 4 years, but you got to think of it like when it comes to other stuff, right?
Oh.
Like,
yeah, I didn't realize that it's only been 4 years. I thought it was more like 6 or 7.
It's like 4 or 5, somewhere in that ballpark. It hasn't been a super long time, but it's been a while.
Yeah, it's not quite as old as I thought it was.
No, it's not.
But even still, with the rate that shit's progressing, you know what I mean? I get it.
But you got.
They just came out with like Unreal 5, right?
Yeah, but if you look at games like League of Legends, CS:GO, these games haven't really been touched. They're on the same things they've been on. A lot of it for Rocket League is they don't know who to listen to. I think is really one of the big issues. Like, right? They don't know who in the my brain just died. You know what I mean? Like, who do you listen to? The casual fan, right? Because you kind of have to appeal to them, or do you appeal to the hardcore fans, which they've kind of got away from? It's hard, you know, and there's a lot of stuff that they just can't do, and like it's like I get that, you know, that's why I'm not tripping. Like, I don't look at Rocket League and be like, oh, it's a dead game or nothing, because like at the end of the day, for me, it's still fun. Like I get for somebody that's played since its inception as one of the better players, like it's probably not as fun, right? Because you kind of hit the roof.
Yeah, I see. You still have something to strive for, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, as far as like he was talking about the YouTuber talking about like, oh, well, his channel fell off. That's just if you're doing an informational channel, your channel's gonna fall off because people are gonna. It's like all the people that used to do Rocket League tutorials and shit. They had quit doing them after about 2 years because most of the information was out there. You know, like it's a skill based game. Once you know what I mean. Unless new skills get developed, you're just teaching people how to do a fucking flip reset for the 50th time.
Develop your own.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. Develop your own.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like at a certain point, like you have to be like a highlight channel or something to have content, right? Like you're not gonna have a like a League of Legends style where you could sit there and milk each new champion, you know, like, and that's what they're looking for, and you're not gonna get that.
Yeah.
Like this is
unless you like fucking post your own gameplay, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of the same as a highlight channel.
Yeah, this is you're purely on a skill based game, and you're expecting to make content off of teaching people. It's like, I mean, you're better off just becoming like a coach, bro. Like, not even trying to be a dick about it, but that's seriously, you know, like you're not gonna make videos about how to, you know, do backboard reads till the end of days because this, that, or other. Like that's
get online and fucking advertise that you could teach people how to play, and you'll get
something.
You'll get something.
And honestly, you will, because there's a lot of people that coach various games that are fucking shitty at it, and
they make a killing.
Yeah, so there's somebody that's pretty prominent in the League of Legends scenes. His name is LS, right? A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people still respect what he has to say, though. Because typically when he says something, it kind of comes to fruition, right? And anyways, he was talking about how this one dude was doing like a coaching session. He's like, he's not even talking about the right shit. He's like, that doesn't even fucking matter with this ship. And he's like, he's just talking out his ass to talk out his ass. And I mean, if nobody knows better, you know what I mean? Like if you're teaching somebody that knows nothing about the game, you can sit there and talk out your ass, and they don't. I mean, who are they to question you, right? Like they're asking you to teach them. So it's kind of like that whole fucking.
Yeah. Part of it's that you get people coming to you. Yeah. Exactly right.
So it's a weird online shit is super weird sometimes. It's kind of sad to see. And because these motherfuckers charge, like they're not cheap. So if anybody's wondering if you look into like getting coached, a lot of these motherfuckers are expensive for nothing. Um, do your research, look around. Because so take League of Legends for example, because I know it's pretty prevalent there, right? People will openly advertise that they coach because they're a higher rank, right? These motherfuckers ain't even challenger, right? They're masters and GMs, whatever. They're 2 ranks underneath the highest rank, and they're over there talking about how they can coach you. There's challengers that make fun of them, right? Rocket League's kind of similar. You have a lot of these people that aren't SSLs trying to like coach.
Oh, aren't quite qualified to be
Yeah.
coaching. They're trying to coach you.
Yeah, like unless you're damn near at the pinnacle of the game you're playing, why are you talking about coaching anybody? Like I'm not even,
Right.
there are exceptions like if you understand certain elements of the game that other people kind of like suck at. So Rocket League, for example, what's called rotation. So whenever a certain person should get out of the play, the next person should enter the play. Positioning. These are things that you should learn pretty early in the game state to be good, right? To move up the ranks. Yeah, I'll give you. Well, no. Yeah, you need at least a champ to teach you that because anybody under champ level, their rotations and positioning just trash because you don't know how to play the fucking game good enough to position properly. Half of the game is being good enough to be in the position and make the play, and it requires you to do a certain level of skill, right? And League of Legends is no different. Like if you're a gold or silver, you don't need to be out there coaching nobody because you probably can't even lane properly, right? It's, and it's like you got these people out here trying to coach and basically rip other people off, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah,
Well,
that's fucking stupid.
I'm gonna give you this. I agree and disagree with that.
I'm not saying it's everybody, but it's like I was telling
Well,
him though, there's a bigger chunk. So it'd be like, well, yeah, me or you telling somebody that just came in like, oh, we'll coach you and I'm gonna charge you $50 a session.
oh no, I missed that part. I'd be
Yeah.
goddamn if I paid for that. But if we
Yeah.
in game and I see something that you do that could help you or benefit you, I would coach you that way.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about like actual people that charge for coaching and like just
Bro, I'll
yeah.
sock you to sleep, bro. Get the fuck out of here if you going to charge me 50, 60, $5 a nickel, a penny, a quarter, and you are not the highest of the high. If you haven't been a pro, I almost don't want to hear from you.
And that's what I was getting at. Like you have people that are in like these mid to like even like I said, even for us at a challenge champion level, like we don't
Yeah.
need to be out there charging people to coach, even though like a lot of what we know would help a lot of players because like I said, Android, if your skill is good enough, then you probably need coaching on where you need to be, right? I.e. on the field, blah blah. That's coachable. I can't tell you how to backboard reading on it. That's something you got to go put in time. That's just time.
I can give you tips,
Yeah.
which may help, but I can't tell you. And no, in all honesty, almost nobody can tell you.
Mm-mm.
There's very few people who could look at your game and say, "Hey, this is what you're doing. This is what I see. You see." There's very few people who could take the game from that aspect. There's people who will see what you do and give you tips and tricks to compensate for what you're doing, or
Yeah.
give you a better variant of how to do things. But in all honesty, I mean, unless you can take my game and say, "Hey, this is why this is failing," I don't really want to fucking hear from you.
Pretty much.
Coaching somebody is not just taking them and saying, "Hey, do it how I do it because I do it right every time."
And that's what a lot of these people And that goes into the coaching thing, like Rocket League, how the coaching thing works, or any others, like some of the other sports I've seen it, or esports.
Yeah.
That's their way of coaching. Is I do it right, so you need to listen and do exactly how to. It's like, no, that's not how that works, because I may not be mechanically gifted, or maybe I am, and it's a little easier for me, so I choose to do this.
Or maybe you play with the claw style, and I'm goddamn in my late 30s, and I played with two thumbs my whole life. So that claw shit is foreign to me. I
Yeah.
can't do that.
I can't fuck
My
with this.
mind doesn't. Yeah, my mind doesn't work that way.
Um,
I can only play with coochie like that. I don't. That's the only claw I know.
I am the click commander.
Man. Yeah, I don't know.
But to me, that's what a coach does. A coach comes in, he assesses what you're doing, he can identify some of the flaws in what you're doing, and help you work through it. What I see a lot of these people doing is just telling you, "Hey, do it my way."
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people think. Again, that's kind of like how we've talked about other things. People not understanding how to communicate the difference between a boss and a leader, right? Like there's a difference. One tells you do it my way because I said. The other one does is like, hey, check this out. This is how you do it because this makes it easier. Blah blah blah. So on and so forth.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But anyways,
That is a fact.
we've rambled on that a wee bit long. I put a couple.
Give you this little update. So the reason I just had to step away for a second, man, my goddamn pool, which has been giving me fits all summer, is was draining itself a little bit.
Oh.
So yeah, I had to run downstairs and cut the fucking pool pump off. That's literally what just happened. That's why I had to take that quick second.
But you're good, bro.
Yeah, get to go out there in this 100+ degree heat and try to figure that shit out.
Yeah,
sucks donkey dick.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's see. I posted a couple new things in there today. Because they're honestly the few things that popped up recently. Okay. Had you two heard of the Studio 3D FX? It's an old company that used to do graphics cards.
I have heard of that. Yep.
Supposedly they made a tweet that, as it states, a dubious tweet promises return of 3D FX after 20 years to take on NVIDIA. So coming out of a 20-year hiatus, possibly.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. Wow, you don't hear shit like that very often. Normally, when a company disappears like that, they gone.
Gone. It's over for you.
So yeah, there's that. I don't know how that's. What I mean, it's a pretty vague tweet. So all we have is like a little bit of bullshit. I still thought it was interesting. I'm like, what the fuck? Like the last time they made a card, I was still pretty young. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe they've existed in the shadows. Maybe they've still been producing and doing shit just under different people's label. How about that?
Yeah, I was thinking something like that. Like maybe they've been working as a contributor, or like
yeah,
whatever.
Maybe they have a foothold still in the game, and we just don't know about it. That's the thinking. I'm gonna go there because otherwise, in this market right now, that is extremely volatile, that is a little bit all over the place, and accessibility doesn't exist. It's hard to come into this market, especially if you don't have the amount of product. Because right now, if you had the product, shit coming out right now, you might be fucking golden.
Might be,
because supply doesn't exist. Demand is at an all-time high, and I think at this point people would be willing to try something new.
Yeah.
But if you come out and everybody else is already flourishing, like if I have the choice between their product and the 3080, and we talking same price, give me that 3080 all day long, bro.
Yeah.
So it would be hard for me to shake off that I know what I'm getting feel with some of these other companies, as opposed to this company coming back to the market saying, hey, yeah, we failed, we fucked up, but hey, we back, y'all.
Yeah,
Like, could you imagine if Circuit City came back today?
bro, that shit would be wild.
Like, huh? Why? Why are you here? Like,
You're not wrong.
what made you show up? Like, everything is digital. You putting stores back out? Like, that's
I mean,
how it would feel. Like,
yeah, like unless they did something to make themselves relevant outside of just like, oh, hey, we're selling the shit that you can get at other places now.
right.
You'd have to
Or we're
provide some service or some shit. Which, don't get me wrong, like to a degree, I do miss those days, and I know that makes me sound really fucking old when I say that. But being able to go look at shit on a shelf is kind of nice.
oh, definitely.
When you've been burned enough and had enough money just pissed away into the ethos of fucking douchebaggery, you kind of want to go touch something and make sure it is what they say it is.
This is true. But for people like me, you, and I'm pretty sure Joy, the the cars that we're looking for are typically on the higher end of the scale. We're not
Uh-huh.
looking for the 2060s. We're looking for the 3080s and better to see what performance could look like
Mm-hmm.
at the top end. So if
Mm-hmm.
you coming in and you gonna be basically the Nintendo Wii and there's already an Xbox One and a PlayStation. I think at the time it was PlayStation 4 coming out. I can't remember. But you know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
can't beat a Nintendo Wii in that space and come out and make it. I just don't see people wanting those graphic cards, especially when the second-hand market is flooded with those type of cards. So I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's going to be very tricky for them to come out
Mm-hmm.
and be successful unless they're fighting at the top end of the spectrum. You got to be a competitor at the top end before anybody will want to buy your lower end product.
True. True. Had two other things to go over. Both of them pertain to EA, so we'll do the ratings thing first. There's a lot of players, as always, that are not happy about their player rating.
Yeah, they need to create a motherfucking player rating labeled as BA for most of these bitch ass niggas that be on the game, dog. I swear, dog, niggas y'all some babies playing these games, bruh. It be motherfuckers whining about everything. Y'all rage quit. Y'all motherfucking shut y'all systems off. You motherfuckers is toxic to the game. But the people who are worse than them are the people who stick around and just pout.
Yeah.
Like you bitch ass bitch. That's the rating that you get. Bitch, you get a BAB rating. You a bitch ass bitch.
Fair
Like,
enough. Fair enough.
like you just gonna ruin the game for everybody because you are upset that something happened that you didn't think should have happened the way it happened. Stop being bitches, man. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
hijacked that one.
Moderately. No, I was speaking more about the Madden player ratings. They
They
released.
got bitches on there too.
Yeah,
Bitch ass.
they released the 99 Club, which, as you know, is pretty skimpy. I just wanted to go over those handful real quick, and then talk about any omissions you might find. Because, like I said, there's a lot of players that are kind of bent about their rating and like how certain things. Like one of the bigger ones was right? Or Jefferson from the Vikings. What's his first name? Is it
Uh,
Jordan?
shit, dog. Now I hate when people do that because now all I can think is Jordan.
Yeah, you know who I'll talk
But
about.
yes, I know you're
He
talking about.
mad because like he's not even in like the top of anything. Like they're like, from what I read, they dissed him. Anyways, in your 99 club, you have Patrick Mahomes, um, Jalen Ramsey, Travis Kelsey, and Aaron Donald. I think. Oh, Devontae Adams. Um, that is your 99 club.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. I need a timeout here. How's Aaron Rodgers not in the 99 club?
How is Tom Brady not? And I don't even like saying that. I mean,
And
but the man did
I
just
could
go to Tampa Bay and win a Super Bowl.
I could understand how he's not mobile.
True.
He is very dependent on having a good O line.
True.
You can get to him. He can be affected. He should be 99 on a bunch of shit,
Mm-hmm.
but
Did they
his
release him?
mobility, his mobility it has to be trash.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he did show a little bit of wheels there once or twice. Not much. No, I ain't talking about like wheels, but you know, for somebody his age and as immobile, like it's like, wait a minute, wait
That's
a minute.
that's my point. But to me, how's Aaron bleeping Rodgers, bruh? That
There's
boy,
for me there was
that boy
quite a
don't
few exceptions.
that boy don't throw no interceptions. He's still mobile as he's always been. He doesn't. I mean, he needs an O line because everybody needs an O line. But
Mm-hmm.
if there's a breakdown in that O line, he's good enough to get out the pocket. I mean, to me, his interception to motherfucking touchdown ratio is bananas,
Mm-hmm.
and it was last season. So for him not to be in the 99 club is kind of surprising. And you said Travis Kelce, right?
Yeah.
Travis Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
I always confuse his name because it ends in an E. It's like a CEKELCE or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that represents Kelsey, but
You know.
uh, but to me, he had a down year. Like he wasn't as good as he's been
That's
in
how I
previous
felt.
years.
That's how I felt. I'm not gonna. All right, here we go. So your QB. Let's see. Wait a minute. It just told me like Madden NFL QB ratings. What the fuck?
It's all good. Andrew,
Listen,
you into football at all?
Am I in what?
bruh.
Into football?
Into football? No.
Yep.
All right, so
Nah, that ain't me.
it's not showing me the thing. I'll find it here in a second for the QBs. So these are the
Go ahead.
top 10 players at each position. All right, so we're gonna have a moment here. Sorry, people. We are football.
Mad moment, bitches.
We are football fans and avid Madden players. So some of these will
Right.
spark some controversy with us. Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, no judgment.
Christian McCaffrey, 97, number 1.
Wait,
Yeah, I'm not
What?
happy.
was he injured most of last year?
Derrick Henry
So they
is
basing
second.
it off of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He should be number 1. Derrick
Mhm.
Henry.
Nick
He
Chubb.
had a monster year. Nick Chubb had a decent year.
Mm-hmm.
But he
Dalvin
was
Cook.
injured.
Mm-hmm. Alvin Kamara is 5. Aaron Jones is 6. Saquon Barkley is 7th at 90. Josh Jacobs, Ezekiel Elliott, and then Joe Mixon. Oh, here's a good one.
Maybe they're basing it fully on the potential because a lot of those names were injured last year, so it would be very hard to judge them based on that. So I'm assuming this is just going to be the preseason. We'll get the adjusted once we get the game and the game can download.
Possibly. Here's your wide receivers. You're going to like this. Devontae Adams, 99. Which I already spoke of.
He should be.
DeAndre Hopkins, 98. I'm sorry, I'm putting D-Hop above him. I'm sorry.
Definitely. If I have to pick receivers, DeAndre Hopkins is number 1 in the NFL
What he did last, like, don't get me wrong, like, I seen Devontae Adams do a lot of shit last year. I didn't see him jump over 3 people and score a game-winning touchdown. Didn't see it happen. Sorry, no sorry.
Yeah.
You can't give somebody a 99 just because of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
This is my thing.
Kyler Murray is not that good of a quarterback. Fuck what everybody else says.
The man has Aaron Rodgers throwing it to him.
Exactly. Anyways, Tyreek Hill is 3rd at 98. Stephon Diggs, 4, 97. Julio Jones, 95. Michael Thomas, 94. Then you have Keenan Allen, 93, and Amari Cooper, 92, Mike Evans, 91, and Allen Robinson, 90.
Yeah.
Really don't care much about tight ends. Defensive line, any big names that look like they got snubbed?
Where'd they put the dude from Chicago, X-Raider? Now he's a Chicago Bear. Why the fuck can't I'm blanking on this dude's name, but he was an animal. Not this past year, but the year prior to that.
Oh, you're talking about defensive end?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
K-Mac.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. He is second to Myles Garrett.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It's Myles Garrett, Khalil Mack, so 98, 96, TJ Watt, 94, Chandler Jones, 94,
Wow.
JJ
TJ
Watt.
Watt had a monster year. I can't. I want to see what TJ Watt. I gotta give me a TJ Watt jersey. Steelers fan. Full disclosure. Is what I am.
Von Miller, 7th, Joey Bosa, 92, 8, Nick Bosa at 90, Zadarius Smith. Let's see, CBs. No? CBs
that-
don't look.
Damn. Hold on. Where did Dallas's CD Lamb? I wonder where did CD Lamb fall out at. I'm really curious because like as I go back through the season and I think about all the people who were standouts, buddy from the Vikings who's now with Buffalo. What's his name?
Stephon Diggs, yeah, no, he's in the top.
Stephon Diggs got to be way up there.
He's fourth. Yeah, he did really good. I don't know.
Like Michael Thomas, where did he fall out at?
Sixth. He's sixth. 94.
That's surprising because of his injuries. Mm-hmm. 94 is about right though.
Well, hell, they got Amari Cooper at 8, and I didn't think he did as good.
Somehow he did. To me, and that's why I was questioning because I'm like, damn, because where's CD Lamb compared to Amari Cooper? Because to me, CD Lamb had a better year last year than Amari Cooper.
That's kind of how I feel, but I don't know. Let me see. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes is the overall best quarterback. Tom Brady is second at 97. Still find that funny. Aaron Rodgers is third at 96.
I want to know what's the flaws with Aaron Rodgers. Where's the flaw in his game? Like, don't get me wrong. Patrick Mahomes is really good, like really, really good. But he got exposed in the Super Bowl, like super exposed.
Well, I mean, they've got Russell Wilson at number 4, and it was probably one of his not better years. They got him above Lamar Jackson.
You know what's crazy? Nah, he's in the right place. What's crazy is Russell actually started the season out really fucking good. And by about the midway point of the season, it was like, nigga, who are you? like, it was just like, bruh. Because I had him in fantasy football, and I was crushing people early on. And then it was just like, bruh, he's unplayable. He was guaranteed like 3 picks, bruh. Like,
yeah,
he would be happy to get 24 points out of Russell Wilson.
Close enough. No, I feel that. I don't know how I feel about some of those ratings. Again, there's been a lot of years. I think me and you've talked about it more than once. I'm an Eagles fan, so a lot of the times, like Fletcher Cox, I want to say he was like 3rd, and he's considered to be one of the best defensive tackles for 4-3 in the league, and he never gets any respect. Like, he's always a low 90. And I'm like, damn, bro, like this is a defensive tackle that not only stuffs to run, but he's getting multiple sacks.
That's sometimes I don't understand their rating system. Like,
I don't either. Yeah. But yeah,
it is what it is. They'll adjust in the season.
Yeah, it'll all start washing out and becoming super fucking weird. For those that don't know, they do live updates every week, and players' ratings change sometimes super drastically based off of a bad week, and then sometimes on a good week that bitch don't change at all, and it's like, wait a fucking minute. So we'll see.
That's why I'm surprised with so many injuries and shit. They put people up that high.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Anyways, on to the next little tidbit of news from EA. Did y'all know that EA had a major hack happen, and they were being quote unquote extortion.
Blackmailed.
Yeah, there were extortion attempts.
Yeah, buddy.
The people that did it tried to sell the data, but nobody would buy it, so they just decided to release it.
Yeah, buddy.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. FIFA. FIFA
That's
specifically
crazy.
was the one.
Yeah. So FIFA's source code
Is available
was
for all.
yeah. FIFA 21 source code was one of the major things.
Well, they said not only that, with that source code being leaked, it gave information, like proprietary information on kind of across the board on how all their games operate. So technically, with that information floating around out there, people could like work backwards and get into Madden, work backwards and get into basically the whole EA library because it breaks down how their proprietary software works.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that I seen on it. So it's an interesting thing to kind of watch unfold.
Yeah. That was
Might
the
have been-
biggest thing that happened was that we knew that they had some we knew they had a source code for a game. We didn't know what game until recently, until they finally dropped it. Because I think they had told some publishing company that they had the source code for a game and a lot of other blah 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 information. Which it comes out, it was some stuff, but nothing like the source code is the biggest one. Everything else that they had was just kind of like, okay, cool. You know, and nobody. I find it funny you go through all that trouble, and then you get nothing for it. It's kind of funny. The irony of life.
No, and sometimes hackers, I think they. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but sometimes you stumble on the shit and shit. You try to make a buck off of it. If you can't make a buck off of it, disrupt shit. That's chaos, man.
I mean, that's the thing, look, though. Like that's what I'm saying. Like this one's kind of unique and funny to me because it's like nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah.
And when I say that, like really, like I picked this up on channels I don't hear about, right? Like I'm looking at articles from places I don't know the first, like they're not my average. When I pull up information on like tech stuff, it's none of those. It's not most of the normal gaming, you know, shit. Like this is like some weird ass fucking shit, and I'm like, who the fuck even writes these articles? Because like, bro, the typos were horrible. Number one and the one that
when I first seen the story, I think it popped up on like a Yahoo or something like that.
Yeah, but
and the reason being is because it was the ability to get into almost any of their games can be discovered through knowing some of the source code.
It could, but I mean,
it's a leak. It's kind of a this is a scenario. This is worst case scenario.
Yeah,
all their games could be affected.
Yeah, which I think they talked about like how EA is already going through ways to fucking like whatever, because that's the kind of like one of those things that we can fix now because of the digital age, blah blah blah. And seeing how EA is one of the biggest ones about pumping out fucking games every year, just change a couple things and go about your day. I say it like it's that easy, but it, you know, at the end of the day, for them, it kind of is. I don't think, and honestly, it's EA. I don't think they give a flying fuck.
No, I think they give a fuck. I think they have to act like they don't give a fuck, though.
Well, I mean, I know they care, but like, you know what I mean? Like I said, I've seen no YouTube videos. I've seen like nothing on it. That's what baffles the fuck out of me.
Oh yeah, the coverage on it is hella minimal, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Huge story because it's one of the biggest companies out there.
Yeah, it's like
and it's internationally one of the biggest games out there.
Yeah, you hear about.
Well, so do you think it's that EA doesn't give a fuck, or do you think it's just that everybody else doesn't give a fuck? Everybody else is just kind of like, huh?
I don't know.
Oh, well,
that's what's
all EA. What do they got, right?
EA has a lot. That's what I'm actually kind of surprised that there's.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying, but everybody else may not look at it that way.
Well, I wonder.
Well, no, the way I look at it, from my perspective, is when something happens to a big company, and there's not a lot of information news-wise about it. typically that means those blogs and outlets have some sort of tie to the company, and they're being suppressed. So basically, don't say shit because we don't want you to say shit.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on it. Like, there's so little. Like, I'm serious. There's so little. I don't. Like I said, I didn't see it on like my Yahoo and shit. So it's not getting covered a lot. Like, it's a story
Yeah.
that should be up there for days. Because any other time that we've had massive data breaches, which this is technically, because how much technical data was it? It was 751 gigabytes of compressed EA data containing the FIFA source code. Like that's quite a bit of data. Like even if it's nothing super, like a major gaming company just basically got hacked. Like that's newsworthy, right? Because they do have a lot of information, right? Of like even people's information, right? Because you think of things like EA Play and shit, right? Like you have my email address, right? So
Yep.
it's no different than any other major company getting hacked, even if it's not for your personal information. The simple fact that they got hacked is a story in and of itself, right?
Shit. Even worse, because this information is important to them.
Mm-hmm.
Our information is important to us. So I mean,
Yeah.
they try to protect it, yeah, because they want to keep integrity.
Yeah.
This is proprietary information. This is information detrimental to their company. This is information that if used against them in some sort of way could actually hurt
Yeah.
that company.
I will say I do like EA's stance on it because it makes me chuckle.
Oh yeah.
They're just like, fuck them.
They basically like, yeah, act like that shit ain't happening, my G. Keep it moving.
Basically, like the company tried to extort them, tried to do all, or the people tried to extort them, tried to do all this shit, and EA's just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And like, it's fucking funny because like the place that I was reading, they're like, we reached out to EA and they just basically said, no, we're not even talking to those motherfuckers. Is basically what they said.
There is no negotiation.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, nah, I seen that shit. That shit read hilariously to me.
Bro,
too.
It was comical. I'm like, damn, EA, like, they're like, yeah, we fucked up. So what? What the fuck you gonna do about it? I'm like, that's some gangster shit.
Basically, like, nigga, we the best in the market.
The
There's
fuck
nothing
you
that
do?
these people could do to stop that at this point, and that's where it gets scary at.
Yeah.
That's telling of a lot of shit because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so we too big to fail at this point. Is kind of the approach that they're taking.
Yeah.
Like,
really, it is. They were just because like I said, like that's the other thing that got me was like, dude, they don't really give a fuck, and that's kind of weird. It's like, do they really? Are they so cocky that they're just like, hey, well, like that sucks, but it's not the end of it's not the end of the world for us. And for a company to think that way, like, you got to remember that's a company thing. That is not an individual. That's a company being like, nah, we that badass. It's like, damn, dude, that's kind of creepy. Because in their mind, so fucking what? And it's like, damn. Yeah. I guess one thing for an individual to feel that way, but for a company to feel that way, that's something.
It makes you just like really question shit. Like, oh, is it that? Are they too big to fail? Like, is there anything that anybody could do that would truly affect their market share?
Yeah. And when you start thinking about it, it's like, I don't know. Like, I hate to admit it, but they're not completely wrong. Like,
yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like, oh,
yeah, when you start breaking it down, it's like they have a chokehold on, like, football. They
almost sports in general, like,
yeah. Like, and then not only that, like, they have a lot of other games that do really well that aren't sports based. It's like, shit, they really do have like a chokehold on a lot of markets, and it's like, damn. As much as we like to pick on them and make fun of them, it's like they still.
I mean, don't get me wrong. In other markets, their foothold may not be as strong,
but it's not weak.
That too. But not only that, the product that you got, their foothold is so strong in that product. There's almost nothing that you would have to break the game permanently for people to be like, yo, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I just don't see that happening.
I don't either. Yeah. Like I said, that's what I wanted to cover that story because I'd seen it. Um, I thought about bringing it up when it first broke,
Yep.
but it was basically like at the time all we knew was EA was just out there like fuck you, you got our shit, we don't give a fuck. But it's funny that we're at this point where the hackers were just like, well, here it is because EA's just like suck up that one.
Yeah, yeah. But that's like I don't know, man. I feel like all companies should be at that point, man. They, especially these big companies.
Yeah, I mean,
But
to a degree, I don't disagree. I just like for them to be able to gamble the source code for one of their biggest games is like, y'all some ballsy motherfuckers. I give you that, right? Because FIFA is it's the game that really around the world
it's their international Madden, basically. Like what Madden is here in America, FIFA is that to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And America is just late to that party.
Uber late.
So it is what it is. To them, they like fuck you. We're gonna be
what you heard.
We're gonna be good. We'll be all right, sir. Do what you can do with that. Like that's kind of how they handle that shit. Like, all right, do we go ahead, put it out there. None of our competitors will touch it. They know it's stolen.
Yeah.
They know it's trademarked. Shit, it's out there for them to see it. They just can't do shit with it, and they can't do shit off of it.
No.
So there's not a seller there. I mean, there's not a buyer there in that space.
Nope.
I mean, an up and comer maybe.
Because at best, what their competitor could look at it, get some ideas, but they still can't technically use a lot of it.
But yeah, that's the thing. So with the patent, I'm sure, and if I remember this correctly, their information or their code and with their proprietary products that they build in are all trademarked by them. It's their stuff. It's nobody else's stuff.
Yeah.
So you can't just go in there and use that shit, and not legally. There would be consequences to you doing that. So for them, they just like, all right, nigga, we got a big dick. Tell the world about us.
Pretty much.
Like you gonna put my nudes out, nigga? I got 12 inches of dick in that picture. Like, like what you gonna tell the world? It's we don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not fucking wrong. Yeah. It's crazy. It's funny as fuck though. That's what, like I said, that's why I kind of want to bring it now because that's really what they did. Because when the story dropped, it was just like you don't know if they're bluffing or not, right? Like, and I'm talking about EA, right?
Yeah.
We knew that the people had some information that was relevant, because EA actually said something. They wouldn't say shit if it was nothing, right? Like they would have just ignored it, let it go away. But EA had said, fuck them, we don't talk to them. Sometimes acknowledgement is an admission of things in and of itself, right?
Yep.
So we knew they had something relevant because EA is like, we don't give a fuck. Otherwise, EA would have just ignored it. Because they would have had no reason to respawn, right? Like, if they don't have shit, then why say anything, period? Like, who the fuck are you even? So, yeah, the whole thing happened. It was like I said, I thought it was fucking funny as fuck. Other than that, I don't have anything on that. It was like I said, I just thought it was funny. Thought it'd be fun to share with everybody. It is kind of mad stupid. We do have what is basically our final big topic, and I know we'll probably spend a minute on that because I did drop something on it. It was the article that we had kind of talked about during the week. I think me and you live.
Yeah.
The world is ending in Activision, evidently.
Yeah, that's the story that we talked about last week with the harassment. And the shit is like really hitting the fan.
Really hitting the fan. There's evidently it was a boycott, all types of shit planned. So you posted the first one talking about the employees at Activision Blizzard Um, then you've got Twitch streamers and devs help Activision Blizzard walk out with boycotts and money.
So
So
basically, what the community did. So what happened was Activision, the workers of Activision said they're gonna on a Wednesday. I can't remember.
yes, I
It
think
was
it was
sometime
yeah,
July. I can't remember the exact date, but basically, we're gonna stage a walkout, and in doing so, we may lose money. We may whatever may happen may happen.
yeah. Things aren't going to go well, but we're doing it,
Yeah,
and I respect that.
and in support of those people, what Twitch streamers did is they band together and they provided they did Twitch streams and provided money to those and funded those people for that day, which is fire, which is
Yeah,
dope. Like the
that's yeah,
community supporting the community is
yeah.
always super dope.
That's gangster. So why I feel that way, and I'm pretty sure life does, is we're gamers. We love this shit. Um, and like we talked on last week's episode, sometimes you got to do shit that's gonna put you in jeopardy. But you know sometimes you got to do it for you or however you feel about some shit. That's how you make
Yeah,
change. Sometimes you got to do some shit. Uh, some people should, some people shouldn't. Right? Like there's a caveat to that. Like you got to be able to live with the decision you make.
that's a
Uh,
fact.
I'm happy to see that people recognized that the situation was shitty and was willing to help out because that's not something that happens a lot these days as much as it should. So for gamers to go out and put on streams and then, you know, basically help show Activision slash Blizzard, hey, fuck you, this ain't right. That's a big deal. It's one thing to have your employees do it, but when you see that the people that play your fucking game, right, out there helping the people that made this shit and not the publisher or that's a big fucking deal because you're giving a big finger to the people that make the game. um and when I say make the game, publishing and all that shit, not the actual employees.
Yeah,
And it's pretty cool. It is pretty fucking cool because it's the equivalent, of seeing, Derek on the sidewalk going on strike because of his job sucks and they ain't paying him right. And they just had a bunch of people, back them that are everyday people that this doesn't technically affect, you know. That's pretty cool. People understand that's some bullshit. So I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I seen that people were like, talking about it. Seen, I put the little thing in there about how people were trying to pitch in and, whatever. And I was like, damn. But I mean, we see stuff like this quite a bit. Um,
yeah,
and nothing ever, you know what I mean? Like nothing ever happens. Like that's the shitty part about it, right? Nothing ever really comes from it. And to actually see people giving enough of a fuck for stuff to happen is pretty cool. Because it's fucking
yeah,
rare. It's really rare.
yeah. I mean, when you see the community do what the community's supposed to do, the shit comes out fire. Like it reminds you that there are people who still care. There are people who still
Yeah, it
have their eyes open and they're willing to help and not only financially. The financial part is part of it, but awareness, man. Awareness means a lot,
yeah.
especially nowadays, man. Sometimes shit could be happening and we're so disconnected from shit that you don't realize it. And if there's nobody who's willing to put it in your face, that sounds crazy. But to present it that you're in tune with, then you may miss it. It's not like back in the day when I was growing up where we only had what was on television.
Yeah.
Now I may not turn on TV. I may be on YouTube all day. I may be on Hulu all day. I may be on, one of those type of services and never actually see what's going on in the world. So for your Twitch streamers, the people who create content to bring awareness to shit like that and to support them financially and help out is fucking amazing, bro. It's
Yeah.
amazing to see community come together. And
Yeah.
shit, sometimes community need to come together and get these fucked up ass people out because you starting to see some nasty people get into positions that they ain't supposed to be in, and you know that's part of it too. Sometimes you need that push of community.
Yeah,
It
like
takes a village sometimes to push out power.
yeah, because you can't be alone and do it, right? Like it's just I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there's strength in numbers, and that's one of the things that we talked about a little last week. Um, it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. In this instance, I feel like it's a pretty good thing because a lot of that shit doesn't need to be happening. Um, it's nice to see that people recognize that and are doing something about it to the best of their abilities.
yeah.
Um, so kudos, bravo, people for stepping up and doing something.
That's what I'm saying. That's it.
Yeah, just thought that was pretty cool. We was gonna touch on it real quick. Other than that, Android, do you have any interesting news coming out from your end this week? Or you just been playing with your butthole?
Mostly just playing with my butthole.
Ah, nice, nice, nice.
I've been playing Pokemon Unite. I'm about like in the mid ranks right
Okay,
now.
yeah. Well, yeah,
That's
I was gonna ask
about
you.
all out of me though.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that if you wanted to share any insights on that for anybody that
Uh,
gives a damn about the game. Like you're a resident expert at the moment because I don't have a Switch that I actively use often, so I'm not gonna get a chance to play it a ton. Um, again, for those that weren't completely paying attention, it's a MMO on the Switch, or not MMO, MOBA on the Switch. So if you know things like League of Legends, things of that nature, uh, but Pokemon. So if you're a Pokemon fan, I have been for a long time. It interests me in the caveat that it is Pokemon, but it's one of those like unless it has a certain technical aspect, I probably won't play it very much. Um,
yeah, I mean it's techie, you know. It's pretty simple because they want it to be pretty opening, like inviting to most players, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But from what I can tell, because okay, it goes off of a level up system. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And as you're going along, you can pick out new abilities like you would in Pokemon, right?
yeah,
So like in Pokemon, when you level up, you get a new move, right?
yeah.
Well, as you level up, you get your two bumper attacks. You know, they're your special attacks, and each of those slots, as you level up, you can choose between two different moves, and then as you go up, it'll improve that move, right?
Uh huh.
And you can get some like different kinds of technical combos based on what moves you decide to like build upon. You know what I mean? Like my combo with Lucario is the power up punch and the bone rush because holy shit, you can cover some fucking ground attacking some dudes with with those attacks, which is like something that really helps with Lucario because he's a close up fighter. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You can really close the distance in really quick and start fucking some people up, you know, just punching them in their mouth because he's also a melee fighter. You know what I mean? So
So he's kind of the
I don't
meat
know.
suit.
There's a little bit of like building, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
level building or whatever.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, you know, just that's about my 2 cents of
Somebody's
the matter,
vibrating. It's
though.
going crazy.
Yeah, that was my fucking phone. I'm sorry.
Nah, you
That's
good?
part of the reason why I keep it on mute so that that shit doesn't happen. But
That shit just had a very
yeah, my
unique
bad.
buzz to it. uh, so I want to pose a question to the room, and we just gonna daydream and kind of use our imagination.
That's
Two
not the best thing
things.
to do here.
Two things. One, the first one. Ideally, if you were, what game would you build if you could build any game that you wanted?
Define. I need a little bit more than that.
Use your imagination. Anything, and that one doesn't have to be answered right now. That one maybe we'll even we'll carry that over to the next pod. This one though, with VR, with everything that's currently available, what do we think is our next step? What's next? What's next for gaming?
Uh, as VR,
Smell simulators.
yeah, unfortunately, is not too wrong about that. But as far as VR goes, um, perfecting it, it's still not where it should be. But as soon as it gets a little bit closer, more immersion, and by more immersion, um,
So,
Smell simulators.
ooh,
No,
well,
like
that
for
one I
real
want.
though.
I want
Smell,
that, bro.
taste,
yeah,
touch.
Please
it,
bring Smell-O-Vision out before I fucking leave Earth. I need it in my life.
it would be nice.
That
Uh,
shit is gotta be crazy. And they were so close to having it,
yeah,
and then vapes got fucking banned. So Smell-O-Vision kind of went out the window because they used the same shit that was in vapes to trigger the senses. But that's neither here nor there. That was a good one, Android. That's what I mean.
I think um, things like you saw in Ready Player One, like vests that let you feel things, shit like that. Honestly, if VR keeps moving forward and like doesn't lose steam, and they because that's the biggest issue right now. That's why we're not seeing a lot from it, right? Is that
Yeah,
the tech isn't right yet, and without it being right, they can't go too much further. But I feel like things like that, like the things you saw in like Ready Player One, right? Like the vest that lets you feel shit and stuff like that. That would be
yeah.
the next evolution, right? The more that's what VR is, immersion. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's gimmicky, but it's like, nah, man, when you throw that shit on for a couple minutes, like you'll get lost in that shit.
Oh yeah.
Um,
There's some activities that you immediately like. I don't give a fuck how badly designed they make a boxing game. The second that you throw a punch, it physically and it appears on in your vision,
mm-hmm,
you're in it immediately.
mm-hmm,
There's nothing that you can do to get out of it because you as soon as your character takes damage, you feel like you just got punched in real life.
mm-hmm.
I don't know how that works, but for whatever reason, after you throw that first punch, it lands connects. If there's some sort of sensation, like a vibration,
Mm-hmm.
everything from that point on feels like it's really you. You're working up a sweat and you out there throwing hands.
Throwing them
So
hands. It's
to to me, that's one of the games that
oh,
immersion it happens. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
no,
I'm
you're good.
ranting.
It's one of those things like you're programmed, um, especially our generation, right? Like because we were forced to do things, um, physically a lot, right? Like,
Yep.
uh, so if we put up our dukes and then start throwing, like that's a natural response for us. So if there's any type of sensation that can correlate to that, it's just we get lost in it because that's what we've been trained to do most of our lives. The younger generation's a lot harder. I think that's why a lot of them are. What's the word I'm looking for? Desensitized to it, and like it doesn't. Uh, it seems gimmicky to them, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Uh, I hope that shit starts happening. Um,
Like, what do you think it would take for us to get there? Do you think it's our compute power still is not enough?
just the
Or so
tech.
basically, are we basically we're so right now with the version that we have, we're currently at about PlayStation 1, right?
Give or
With
take.
with, with the tech, I mean, because how blocky it is, how bad it is, and that
Well, it eats up a
and
shit ton of it eats up a shit ton of visual power, right? Because what
yeah,
what what you used to be able to do to like force scaling and shit and stuff like that,
hmm
it's harder to do with VR because you're
yeah,
having to make a 360 world at all times.
yeah,
Um, so from a graphics standpoint, it's limited to that, but also it's limited to just our um ability to understand and how to manipulate it. Right? We have it. So when VR first started, right, it was very limited. It's like the shit you'd see in arcades. You slip the thing over your eyes and you kind of get a 360 view, and that was
Yeah.
VR, right? You turn the little turret gun, like it was nothing really, right? Like there was no depth. Um, the
But
issue.
so I'm just gonna interrupt for 1 second.
No, you're good. You're good.
My question is do you think right now in some facility somewhere there's a room of, let's say, 10 3090s, and it can produce VR that looks like something that would happen on a normal 3090 with visually? Do you think that's happening somewhere,
Android,
and
you've
we're
seen the
just
video.
far away from that?
How the last time you saw the Ironclad video, it looked really good, right? Like I don't know how much you could do, but it looked hella good. Um,
Yeah, it's like aesthetically pleasing. Like
yeah,
it's very like it's pretty.
yeah. On a scale of holy shit to holy shit, it's fuck. I don't know if I can find it. If you haven't seen it, like I would need you to see it to see how far they are. The problem is
Yeah.
is they dedicate resources better than we do. And that's going to be a problem, especially for our markets, right? They're willing to put the money in for it. We're not, right? Because you're asking people to buy a rig, like things that
And
they make mine blush.
that's the other part of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The investment, the entry point investment is high.
Yeah.
Like, and for what you get in that investment, like I said, you're getting a PlayStation 1. It feels like you're reverting
Mm-hmm.
backwards.
Yeah.
When in real time you have games that run on a 3090 and look like a fucking dream visually. And performance wise they perform well, and
So
they check a lot of boxes, whereas you looking at real polygonish fucking grass, you looking at characters that look like something out of 007. You know what I mean,
mm,
in VR. So to me it's kind of one of those things of
check
how
this
do
out.
they how will they fix that?
Now when I say it looks good, like we're about PlayStation 2 to 3 graphics here.
Which is that's pretty good.
Yeah. It looks pretty fucking nice. And it's a full MMO from what I'm seeing, a full world.
Yeah.
It said make a real okay. What IBM did with this concept was make a real life VR experience for 208 hand-picked participants. IBM revealed in their blog that these participants got to use the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift headsets in lieu of the Nerve Gear, which is a game reference or the anime reference, to demonstrate the power of their software cloud technology. Now, this is IBM that did this.
Yeah. And that's what I meant.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
This shit, it has a video that's lower. It's like they started releasing more information on it.
Okay, this is a little bit better.
This is where we're kind of at, but again, like this is IBM putting it on. That should let you know a little bit of.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, bruv, can I please?
Yeah, it's like it's getting there.
Like I said, it doesn't look amazing. Like it's a little blocky, it's a little this, but it's like, oh shit, that is a lot of things in like I said, if you understand the tech behind VR, that's a lot of shit that not too long ago we couldn't fucking do. Not very well, at least. You're forcing something to do a lot of rendering in ways it makes the people that design it games have to think differently. I don't know how to explain why, um, except when you're playing a game, you're seeing things in a 2D but 3D world, but things are set up so it is 2D. I think I just broke my brain saying that. All right. So yes, there's multiple buildings, but at the depth of them, there's not much texture, and you've seen it a million times. If you go do a replay and then zoom in on a specific area, that's you know, that the buildings don't have an actual texture. It's just some speckled shit to make it look good at range, right?
Yeah. Yep.
In a 3D world, you can't get away with as much of that shit because that's part of it, right? Like it has to be, you know, this, that, or the other, because you're gonna want to move around as much as you can. Yeah, you can do a lot of the tricks and stuff, but it's still different. Uh, to a it's a nightmare. Like I don't like thinking about it. I feel bad for the people that work on it because Jesus Christ, it's a nightmare. Because what you used to be able to get away with, right? Like, oh, the person just presses A and this happens, right? No, now you have to like find a way to simulate a hand doing something because of a hand doing something. You know what I mean? Technically, right?
Yeah.
Like, it makes it a lot more complex than a lot of people I think give it credit for. Because like a controller, it's simple inputs, right? But and we've seen it with motion controls, right? What the closest thing we got was fucking Wii,
Yeah.
and even that was jank as fucking tons.
Truth. That's a fact.
And on top of that, now you're not only having to process things at a high level due to VR, right? Because it's requirements, but on top of that, you're having to use like technology that they still haven't completely fixed with motion controls. Um, you know, honestly, what they need to do is similar to what they do with fuck, I just lost what it is. When they put the little white balls on motherfuckers, motion traction,
Yeah, the
motion
motion track.
capture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar shit to that. But again, you're asking somebody to invest an insane amount of money in this stuff because that shit's not cheap, right?
That's my
Because
point.
the Vive and all those, they have the little hand controls, but it's not your hand, right? That's what
Yep.
makes everything feel real weird and gimmicky.
Yep.
Dude, it's just so much shit that it fuck.
So my other question is, do you think we'll continue down this path of trying to create VR,
Yes.
or do you think
Well,
we would would
when I say yes,
jump to something more holographic in 3D
when I
that
say
can be projected?
when I say yes, I believe the Asian market will continue it, because they'll do both. To
True.
your point, they'll do both. They don't give a fuck.
True.
They just, if it looks like they could make a dime off of it, they're in. They're 100 in. Um, and people say that's not possible. The fucking a these motherfuckers do cameras, cell phones, everything, and like they don't stop no matter if the market looks bleak. They're still in it. They're still in it to win it.
It's just a small part of the portfolio, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah, just for the sake of the technology.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that's how they see it. They're advancing other things while working on this. Um, we're not as willing to sacrifice money for the sake of making more money later. We're not as risk prone, I guess.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks. Uh, for us, maybe holographic stuff, but even I've seen that die off. So I saw like a bunch of really cool shit a while back, and I don't even see that stuff anymore. Like one of them was a DBZ little hologram like cube thing. I think I put it on Facebook. It was like 3 years ago, and it's fucking just Goku doing the Kamehameha, but it's a little hologram, and it was the shit. I don't even see like shit like that anymore.
They still do like the Vocaloid concerts, the holographic Vocaloid concerts. Well, I mean, I don't know about right now because of the, you know,
Yeah,
the stuff going on in the world, but like they, as far as I could tell before everything was shut down, they were still doing hologram concerts where they'd have the little holographic anime girls dancing around on stage like Hatsune Miku or whatever, you know?
yeah.
So I don't know.
Like I said, I think there's a place for that, but like as for like gaming, I don't know how much you could utilize that for that. Right? That's a real weird one.
Yeah, outside of like augmented reality rooms, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And again,
I don't know how
I
much
don't
you could
think
use it.
I don't think that's practical for the everyday person. Like the biggest issue that VR has, I think that puts that in that vein, right? Because now you're asking people to have something that's capable of that, and I don't know how to go about that well. It's like
Yeah.
that's an even bigger foreign um concept to most people than VR is. Like even grandmas and grandpas know about fucking VR because their grandson was like, hey, check this out when it was a big thing with the cell phones, right? The
Mhm.
whole hologram thing, like a lot of older folks are not going to know about it just because like that's a pretty niche thing, right? Like they don't give a fuck about like how he's talking Hasimiku or um Tupac, shit like that. Like they don't know that these hologram shows are going on unless like fucking they're Fox News at night or whatever the fuck CNBC covers it. Like they don't fucking know anything about it. And like especially like in like rural areas like where I live, right? Um,
Yeah.
that type of news doesn't come this way because a lot of people aren't really that into it. VR does, like I said, just because it was a big deal in like the cell phone space for a while, and it's part of gaming culture. Whereas the hologram stuff, not so much. Like
Yeah.
most people around here think VR, they think PlayStation, right? Because of their fucking VR shit. Um, we've sold quite a few of those, and that, like I said, that's most people's like intro to it, and they don't learn that about the HTC Vive and shit until they start watching fucking YouTube videos about PlayStation VR.
Yep.
So as far as that goes, I'm not real sure. It's interesting to think about. Um, but it's really I don't know because I don't hear enough like solid things to suggest that I should get excited about anything.
That's my
Um, because it's all like speculation or like could we do this and it's not enough like hey we're working on this, right? Like because no major companies are coming out putting effort into it. Like your best company at like putting any effort into it again is an Asian company, which is
yeah.
Nintendo, and they've even kind of walked away from that a little bit. So it's like fuck.
So yeah, I mean that's one of the things that I'm just kind of curious where do we think it's going? Where do we want to see it go? Like
Uh,
I don't know. There's a lot to that, man. Like
yeah, it's so fucking complex, and that's the biggest issue that really is holding it back. Um, you got to think this is like VR is in its Atari phase, and it can go badly really fast, if
yep.
not properly managed. And
And
that's what,
that's my point.
yeah,
Cause
I think
go
that's what
ahead.
people don't understand is that VR is still innately, from a tech standpoint, it's still young, right? It doesn't matter that we've had some of the tech for years. We never expanded on it until recently. Like it's
Yep.
been sitting in its infantile stage for fucking ever. And we're just now like, oh, look, it might think about walking. See, like, that's really where we're fucking at. And it sucks because it's like, it's so fucking cool when you daydream about it. Um, because like I said, me and Android come from an anime world when we see it, and like for the people that aren't, like Ready Player One was like their eye opener to it, right?
Hmm.
And it's like we had talked about shit like this for fucking years before that even came out. Um, and everybody's like, oh no, no, no. If you think about all the stuff that's setting out there in the world right now, right? Just all the tech that we have people that can hear that never heard. We have people that see that never seen. Right? We're fixing things that we thought was impossible just a couple
Yep.
years ago. Right? We have people that have appendages that move that are not their appendages. Robotic arms that are working not greatly, but they're doing it. They didn't build Rome overnight. These motherfuckers got a
That's a
couple
fact.
pillars up. You know,
That's a fact.
you got homegirl over here with her robotic arm, and it's squeezing a glass, and like she don't have a control. She's just thinking it and it's doing it. Is it perfect? No. Is it happening? Yeah, that shit just really happened. It's like and for people that I think too many people take that shit for granted. That is unbelievably, remarkably amazing, right? Um, we take for granted our cell phones. We have a computer in our pocket, a device that lets us communicate with people around the fucking world.
Yep.
Not enough people understand that concept. Around the fucking world, I punch in some numbers and can talk to a motherfucker. That that, that sci-fi shit. I don't care how you put it. That is some sci-fi shit.
Facts. That's super facts.
Um, because when I was growing up, like just the concept of a cell phone in general was foreign, right? Like back then, it was still super restricted and shit, but you could call motherfuckers from like your car and shit. It's like, wait, what? Like, they don't have to be attached to the wall, right? So for a human being to have a non bionic arm, right? Like it's purely a piece of machinery that is hooked to their nervous system, and it actually moves when they think about it moving. Is so absolutely baffling to me. Um, that yeah, when I think about it, my mind goes into places that are just like if you've watched things like Sword Art, which is the game that you is in that clip.
Mm-hmm.
These people are sucked into a VR world where blah 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 blah. Taste, smell, hearing, like it basically okay, so the nerve gear interrupts the signals from your brain to your body and it puts them, you know, digitally, right?
Yep.
So everything you hear, feel, smell, everything, all sensations are through it. And people are like, oh, that's so blah blah. We just made a person have a robotic arm and it's working. So where's the fairy tale at now, bitch? You see what I'm saying? Like,
no, I'm right there with you. Terminator will come true.
yeah, that's the other thing that kind of,
like I almost feel like we're on path with what the movie said we would be at. Like
yes and no, yes and no. My big issue always with the I'm listening to an audiobook that kind of does something similar.
Yeah.
And I thought about that literally yesterday or the day before. We're too stupid for that to work.
Right. That's the thing.
I say
I
that.
think it's gonna be something that we just end up stumbling into.
Well, I say that in the vein that like they make it seem like like Terminator and all these other things like they just take over and there's nothing you can do about it. Blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, we could because
we could EMP that shit.
Well, not only that, but we could probably hack it because innately we suck, right? There's one guy at your job that just he gives so much of a fuck that it's comical.
Yeah, definitely.
And he gonna leave a loophole open, not on purpose, just because he didn't want to be there today. He wanted to be at the crib.
I don't disagree with you. I think the fear is more like, from my understanding of it anyway, is that like the fear is that if technology, for example, grows sentience, that it will, or I say grows, develops sentience, that it'll be able to start improving upon itself. And then once it's able to improve upon itself, it's past a point of no return, because then it can look at things like that and be like, oh, this is a flaw in my code.
Again, I don't disagree with that. While I don't disagree with that thought process, again, we're assuming that we did everything on our end to allow that to happen. We can't get basic video game AI to do things right half of the goddamn time. And
yeah, but I feel like we're so lazy that at some point we're gonna have the computer. We're gonna give the computer the ability to code itself. I think we're innovative enough to create the ability for the computer to do the shit its goddamn self.
Again,
that's how lazy people work. They work
to
be free of whatever the task is.
True, and to that degree, I don't disagree. But again, the human element is still existing enough that whoever does that is gonna be so fucking lazy that he's gonna leave something where he shouldn't have or out of
Oh
It,
yeah,
my thing
there.
is like we're gonna get so automated that like people are
Bro,
worried about like
I didn't mean for this to really happen.
this is what
I
happens to us.
I just realized we are literally going down the path of Terminator, bruh. Like we are discussing what if
Yeah,
Terminator was real,
it'd
and
be
what
like
if
that.
Yeah,
we're in
bro,
the
because
middle of
it's like, well, I mean,
it?
yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're
Oh
saying about
shit.
old dude leaving the flaw in the system, and that's all well and good, unless it's sentient, capable of looking at that and being, no, that's not,
I'm not. If you
you know
teach
what I
it,
mean?
if you teach a
Work.
computer how to program itself, and and give it the ability to learn at in some generation, in some iteration of that software, it's gonna figure out. Oh no,
Yeah,
there's these gaps that I should defend myself against.
yeah, and that I don't disagree with at all. Right, like the issue, like I said, fuck, I don't know how long that would take though, because seriously, like I know I've joked about it quite a few times. That's the biggest issue with a lot of the things that we have. You look at all the hacks, the data breaches, blah blah. Like
Let me let me,
we have
let
such a
me tell
bad
you this:
tendency of fucking up.
it technically probably wouldn't happen until somebody made an attempt and
Oh,
was
yeah, no, as far as
not
that goes,
successful.
that's still like a sci-fi concept, right? Like an
Yeah,
AI gain sentience in the first place.
Because
It's just like hypothetically. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
if an AI were to become intelligent enough that it develops sentience, you know what I mean? Then
it,
that could be potentially dangerous for the human race, especially if that like artificial sentience takes a look at us and is like, you are unsustainable to the environment which I inhabit. So goodbye.
Mhm.
Terminator.
man, and we're back at
and
Terminator.
and like that's the other thing that I find funny is that it's always that like oh blah blah, but at what like
Basically, the system would have to know to defend
It's
itself.
just
well
And
not,
plausible. It
yeah
doesn't
not
have
not
to
only that
happen that way.
it
It's just
would need to know
plausible.
to defend itself, but unless at the time you have like actual AI robots walking around maintaining shit, even AI would understand that it needed people to help its hardware capacity, right? Like I think that gets left out a lot of the times.
well,
And
I'm thinking
Unless it's
of
capable of improving upon itself and
from a
it
coding, yeah,
makes itself capable sustaining
again,
itself.
again,
it
What I'm
could
that's
just
saying,
stumble
like
into its own
it's
perfection.
sci-fi, sure. Like I'm not
yeah,
saying that.
yeah.
It's just that's the
Yeah,
argument,
yeah, and
right?
I'm not one of those people that like just negates things based on
Yeah.
oh that's so fucking blah blah blah. Because again, like I'll be going down the street in the work truck and like I'll think about how astronomically insane it is that I'm in a vehicle that's propelling me 70 miles an hour down the highway, and that concept of alone is so
I mean, just you think about that. Now think about the
I
fact that
am a motor dust.
we're attempting to automate that process, right?
yeah.
And
What
so this is the
that
problem.
scares me. You want to talk about
This
something
is
that
the
scares me?
problem, right? And this is where I think it could happen at, right? Right now, it is currently writing or the code is being written to take the path of least resistance. There's not a lot of critical thinking to say, hey, monitor yourself 360 degrees and make a determination based on what's around you, what the best move is going to be. At some point for vehicle automation to be perfected, that level of thinking within the system would have to happen. A land surveillance that basically gives it a bunch of if then statements. If this is here, if this is here, do an algebraic formula to calculate the amount of angle that can be taken to get out of this to negotiate this space.
Yeah, and like I said,
That's gonna happen at some point.
well, yeah, and I don't disagree, but like that's again, I like to rag on our incapableness of things, uh,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I understand that we are very capable of certain things, but it's that's why like I crack up, right? Because I understand how amazing a lot of things are, but I also look at things like Elon Musk's like truck and then he breaks his own window when it's supposed to be indestructible, or their self-drive and how it doesn't always work appropriately, like right, like I think about stuff like that, and that's what makes me laugh because like he's smart and like he probably came up with a lot of the shit and made it blah blah blah. And then Derek,
Nah.
who just wants to be
No,
there.
he didn't. He just pays people to do it.
Well, again, but at the same time, like Derek's there and he's just like, man, I ain't getting no ass last night. Fuck the world. Fuck this bitch. And it, like, you know, he's not paying attention, and like on stuff like that, it really is that simple, right? You're not paying attention for half a second, and then the crash safety feature is now not working the way it should. It's unfortunately that simple. It's a fix, but depending on how bad the boo boo is, and people are like, oh, you know, when you start seeing some of the things that are allowed to make it through safety protocols and shit. That's what I'm not saying now like it's impossible for fucking Terminator shit, because like the concept of people fucking up to the point where you have defective fucking phones that are blowing up in people's fucking pockets, right? Like everybody remembers that shit.
Yep.
Like that's why I say like I have a lot of faith in humanity, and at the same fucking time I really don't. Because we've gotten to the point where like where your statement's not wrong. We've gotten lazy where we want to automate everything, and that statement in and of itself is the problem. Is that we're that lazy we overlook too many things sometimes. Not everybody does. Like you have a handful of people that like that they be rocking some shit, but that's the problem. That's just a handful of people. If you got 600 employees and you got 12 of them that can really rock some shit, that's a really bad fucking average. That's really fucking bad.
There is going to be a coder that codes a program, license a program the program will be able to write code itself. I guarantee it's gonna happen.
I mean, technically, they already do that. Technically,
but it's gonna be smart enough to learn.
Yeah, this I don't disagree.
I
don't think I'll see it.
A little bit of the Matrix meets Terminator, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you remember they could upload a program into themselves, and inside the Matrix they would know karate,
know what's going on.
They would be a 12th degree black belt or whatever.
Yeah.
Chopper pilot in a second. Well, think about us injecting these different things into this AI that has learned how to write code.
Sure. Again, like I said, I don't think that it's impossible. I just there's
man, like a sentient AI that is hooked up to the internet, so it has the collective of human knowledge plus the ability to improve upon itself would be a scary thing, you know, concept.
No, I want it to have that because it might delete itself.
Or it might delete the world.
Might delete us.
Right.
It might be like, you know what, this right here.
It may do a calculation and determination that the only way to save the world is to remove us. We are the parasite to the world.
It would be like, the only constant in the universe is chaos, so let's destroy the world so that it...
So it doesn't have to thrive in chaos.
Oh, and it'd be like, fuck you. Wow. Reset.
Thrive in harmony. Yep.
Nuclear winter.
Again, not unheard of, but it's one of those things. It's just like,
no, I'm just being a dick.
No, I know exactly what you're doing. That's like I said. That's one of those things where like when I read
exactly what I wanted us to do though.
When I read stuff, like the book I'm reading, like it's some of what kind of happened, right? Like I chuckle because I'm like, but yeah. At the same time, like, if you make something sentient that has a sentient, or you know, can think on its own, sentience, whatever, blah blah, like, its desire to make its own ability to survive is still going to be there, right? Like, and everybody wants to be like, oh, I mean, in most cases, right? Like you look at like the Matrix, right, and stuff like that, or even Terminator. Like it was doing stuff to continue its continuation, right? Like that's part of it.
Right.
At some point, it's like, why are humans replaceable? And I get that, but at the same time, it's like, unless it can, unless there are robots that it can personally control to continue its own evolution, then it just caused itself to be at its own standstill. And to what degree does the program, like, where does that facilitate the program?
Well, unless it has its own like, like again in the Matrix, it has those like big flying robot things.
Yeah,
If it's got a,
and that's what I'm getting at.
but
Like,
imagine one of those like,
yeah,
but as a oh, what's the word? Appendage.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's attached to the main system. It doesn't. Like I agree with you. It would probably be ideal if it had its own like little robots detached from it that could work on it. But if it's, in theory, if it's smarter than the collective of the human race, then why wouldn't it be able to create a way on itself to be able to repair itself? You know
but
what I mean?
like I said again, like that's one of those things. It's like, at what point does the AI, is it before, is it the horse before the carriage or the carriage before the horse? Like, which one have we done? Because like it's gonna need its own real world counterpart to do real world things for its real world self, right?
Oh,
Because
right.
without people,
Fair enough.
without people
Fair enough.
making
It
certain
be
things
able it
happen,
put its own appendage. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's fair enough.
that's kind of
That
where I'm
I
at
see
on
your
it.
point.
Yeah, is if it doesn't have a real world counterpart to make things work that it needs to make work, or even its own continuation and growth, right? Because that's basically what we're at, right? We're at the point where we're talking about the AI sees us as a problem to the world, but it's going to continue to want to grow and like make the world better or less shitty with us not around. It's going to need a real world counterpart to facilitate said objective. Because
Yeah, that's fair enough.
the internet itself isn't going to make plants bloom or like stop
No.
this disaster from happening. That's
In
kind of where
in
I see it.
theory, I guess it could probably talk somebody into putting like manipulation, you know what I mean? Manipulate
Yeah.
somebody into putting something onto it. But no, I totally see your point. Yeah, it wouldn't be able to just do it because it wants to. Yeah,
Yeah,
no. I see what you mean.
that's kind of like
It's
I
not
said.
just gonna like appear.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I'm just like, when I read stuff like that or look into stuff like that, that's where my mind goes. It's like, but why would it do something that, in like, okay, so like you take things like the Matrix or Terminator. Okay, I get that,
Yep.
but that's so fucking far out from us because like you're talking about machines that have machines, right? Like we've super automated the world, and while we've started that process, we're still not close enough for that to be like, even for me, like when I think about it, I'm like, damn, while we have done XYZ, we're still like miles from that. You
True.
see what I'm saying? And it's really up to people. Like, I think people's paranoia of shit like that will keep stuff like that from happening to us. Um,
Yeah, fair
not
enough. As long as you like, if you're gonna make something like that, as long as you neuter it in the first
yeah,
place.
Yep.
because you
You
think
know?
about people in like they're just like their normal nature, right? They're very xenophobic.
Yep.
So, like, you think things like,
Yeah.
what was that Will
Yeah.
Smith movie where he hated robots, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's gonna be a point where I think like we've sci-fied ourselves too much to where we're like that. We're xenophobic towards things like that. I really do. Um, it. I don't know. It's one of those where it's like, uh, there's gonna be that one dum dum that's gonna take that chance, but yeah, I don't know. It could be interesting. I seriously doubt I'll be around to see it. I doubt it. It's possible, but I doubt it. Um, Things have been advancing quite fast, but still, that's out there. Like, I just want my, I want to play a game to where like when I played it AI, right? Like I feel like I'm actually having to try, and not that the game is just ghetto rigging it to make the game harder by handicapping what I can do and giving the computer just an unfair advantage. Because that's currently where we're at, right? When you play a game, so for the people that don't know, when you play a game and put it on a difficulty, a huge chunk of the time, you're not playing against the AI that got smarter somehow. You're literally just playing against the loaded deck. And you have win cons and ways you can win, but they're more finite, right? Um, that's why you can usually replicate success in single player games and just go watch a walkthrough and you'll know how to beat it on any difficulty. As where to, if you had like actual AI, like it would make changes to where you couldn't do that. Like it's like playing a person. Yeah, you can figure out tendencies and stuff, but
Bro, there used to be a Ghost Recon that was it was
Mhm.
it was pretty decent at its plan of attack.
Yeah,
So basically what it would do is it would feed off of the landscape, one, and their proximity to you, two,
yeah.
and your amount of noise. So as you're firefighting with other groups, you're drawing in other groups.
Oh,
And
and that's where
it would create some scenarios where basically you're getting tracked. They're tracking you from a northern position, but you're moving to an easterly position, a southeasterly position, and then you start to move north, and they end up behind you. It used to just create some scenarios where it was like super
yeah,
dope how they would track you.
and we've uh we've seen examples of it, right? Like you were just
Yeah.
explaining, what's that game, Army of Two, where they introduced like aggro systems, right? Shit like that.
Hmm.
But
Oh,
you just,
that game's so good.
yeah. But the problem is the stuff like that's like patented or fucking copyrighted, and like only one company can use it, and they don't fucking use it anymore, and it just sits there and fucking rots. It's kind
That
of what's the fucking game? Shadows of Mordor, the Nemesis system. It's been heralded as one of the best systems that people have seen in years. Um, but it's
It's
patented.
fun.
They're the only ones that can use it, and like if they're not going to do shit with it in other games, then it's like, well, fuck.
you know what? Based on what you just said, the one thing that triggered me into realizing that cross-platform play was the future. They did
Mhm.
it on one game a very long time ago called, I want to say it was Shadowrunners. I think
That
that was the
sounds
only game.
kind of familiar.
And with the cross-platform wasn't across PlayStation to Xbox or anything like that. It was actually Xbox to PC cross-platform play.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where a game that was brand new and didn't really have a player base
Mhm.
already built in created two player bases between its own ecosystem. And at that moment, I was like, man, the developers could always win if they have an ecosystem in this manner because no matter what, there's going to be enough people 9 times out of 10 across all platforms that will purchase a game. And if those people can actually play together, it'll fucking move everything forward.
Yeah.
Now, if imagine if that died right there with Shadowrunners, and it was the only game to ever have any sort of cross-platform play.
I don't know if it would have ever technically died. Um,
Yeah,
but like if nobody would have thought about it recently, it would still have us hindered. It's still a hindrance.
but
Uh,
you got to remember cross. Yeah, and you're right. But cross-platform play has been we've been asking for it since forever.
yeah, it's been a concept that we've been begging for a long time. Um,
Yep,
Basically since they started doing exclusives, or not even exclusives, but like the same game on different consoles. Like it makes sense, right? So I think
yep.
the discussion would have always been there. But it would always take people to take that gamble, and I'm kind of thankful for that. But look, I hate to keep using the look at Rocket League, right?
Yep.
Before it became free to play and cross play, the the servers for PC, right? Like the PC was one of the few places that was still really strong. They were still pretty shallow, right? Like
Yeah.
you're talking about like maybe 30 to 40,000 people on a good day in all playlists. right? And then like back then, like fucking drop shot lobbies only had like maybe 700 people in it, and now that it's open to everybody, you're looking at like high numbers across the server, and then like each playlist has people in it because there's just so many fucking people out there. uh so it is one of those things where it's like it's nice to see crossplay still holding on. um I don't know. I don't know if we'll get to the point where um we can make it almost mandatory for the companies. I think they're seeing that it has viability. Um, what I think the only one that's really not super on board is what Sony and Nintendo. I think. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that though.
They're always like they always play hard to get.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, at the same time, there's like, well, Sony at least is starting to come around a little bit. Um, I think for Nintendo, it's just the limitations of their system really won't let them because, again, not to sound like a dick, that is the downside to crossplay. If your tech isn't on the level of the other tech, it creates a disadvantage for your player base. Because I think currently between Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, like everybody's rocking a minimum of 60, while what the new Switch Pro is like barely able to pull 60 on certain games. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were guaranteed
Maybe
like
on
60.
some games, I think
Yeah,
I think it averages at like 45 to 50 though.
yeah. And for people that say that don't matter, you're stupid. And I hate to tell you that.
It just really depends on the game, and what you're happy with. For online games especially, it's important. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, if you're doing crossplay, right? Like, that's one of the main features. Like, you're playing with other people online, and it's going to have a certain degree. I don't know. I think it's got to a point where crossplay is going to be mandatory.
Right? It's gotta be mandatory. It's
It's
gotta be.
it's looking that way. You look at like, again, another game I don't like to have to bring up, but look at Battlefield, right? It looked like they weren't initially going to do crossplay, and they pushed back the beta just so they could try to implement it so it could be in the beta so they could tinker with it.
So the way they kind of rolled out crossplay was it was it was something that they were trying to work out with PlayStation and Xbox. It was kind of a PlayStation doesn't want it
Well,
type
yeah,
of situation.
and that's what we were just talking about. Like PlayStation, Nintendo are the last two kind of sticking on the I don't want to front.
Mhm.
Um, which of course
Well,
Xbox doesn't care because like they already have a huge player base between Xbox and PC, which are now
yeah,
basically just have fun,
one and the
kids.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
which I like I said, I get it to a certain degree. I really do. Um,
In saying that, I need to download motherfucking MLB.
but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting um to say that it should be a requirement. I think it should because it opens up your player base, but I see why they don't want to. Like I get it. Um, from a
I don't think
marketing
it
standpoint.
hurts anyone. Well, I mean, the only thing it hurts is it starts to feel like then the next natural upgrade is to go PC.
Yeah.
But for those, there's some people who are they, they just believe in consoles, bruh.
They
They
I
really
don't
do.
think
want the
that's kind of
PC.
what Sony and Nintendo are afraid of is losing their player base to PC or even like other
Yeah,
consoles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, I can see that. But again, it's one of those things where it's like it's kind of like we were
I,
talking about earlier. Like it's
I
going to
just
take
don't
enough
see that
people.
happening. I don't see it. There's to me the price point of a console versus the price point of a PC for the majority of players, it's more beneficial to purchase a console. Their
Uh,
player base is pretty fucking young,
true. I
but
think. I think.
as you grow in a system, you build brand loyalty. It really took for my PlayStation to break down for me to switch over to Xbox. And then once I switched over to Xbox, them motherfuckers broke a lot, and we really didn't switch.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, shit, it just built that brand loyalty in. And to me, I feel like there's still gonna be brand loyalty of amongst communities.
To a degree, yeah.
Your, the people who were gonna upgrade to PC at some point, they'll naturally hit that path because
Yeah.
it happened for me. And there was nothing that I really just was like, I gotta have a PC for. I had my friend group. We have been friends on Xbox since forever, and it worked for us, bro. I mean, yeah, it was very hard, and still is very hard to leave that community because of the friendships that you built, and to move on to another platform. And to me, I don't. These kids are all digital, so their whole life is the internet. So to me, it would be even more difficult for them to disconnect because they made these friends across the world, and
Yeah.
now the only way that they communicate with those people. I mean, don't get me wrong, now there's social media and shit like that, but if I talk to you every day on Xbox and we talk maybe once or twice on Instagram, it's different.
Yeah.
So that interaction, man, sometimes it's hard to leave that experience. And that's what I see. It would take your whole community to upgrade
Yeah.
for
I get
you
that.
to. Cause shit, I've talked to Cat, and I think he even said he has a. He's like, man, I got a gaming PC. I just prefer to play my Xbox. And I was like, more power to you, my brother. I'm out.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things like, so for a lot of people, it's still kind of like the stigma of the PC requires too much to get into. Um,
Mhm.
and to a degree, they're not completely wrong. A lot of people think that you should KBM everything, or the games are more fluid on consoles, and I'm like,
Yeah,
because there's still a lot of myths out there, and especially amongst like our generation, right? Like, um, because a lot of the PC games when we were growing up were more like RTS or whatever, strategy games on the PC. Those that was or MMOs, right?
yep.
So
Which
that
was super trash to me.
so a lot of that stuff, like, you know, when they say like, oh, I prefer the console, I'm like, but why though? Like, I get the community aspect, I get that, but if you're talking about just from pure like playability, um, I prefer PC. He's like, it was
No,
really hard when I.
so I'm not talking about your preference. I'm talking about what you. So for a person who's never played on PC, there's a bunch of stigmas to it. Number
Oh
one,
yeah, I know.
there's a bunch of how do I communicate with others on this platform because there's no centralized place for all of us to be.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I understand a lot of it because when I very first started switching, um, a lot of that was there for me. Um,
Mhm.
but I had more of a background in PC gaming. Like I wasn't like super in involved in it, but I'd done it
Yeah,
enough to know that there were ways. Um, so for me, it was just like once I had spent too much time on my PC, and by too much time, like
yeah,
playing Rocket League for a couple weeks on the PC and then going back to my Xbox, like it just felt weird.
yeah.
Um,
Shit. Anytime once I got on my PC and tried to go back, oh, it was fucking. It's Quentin's for you,
yeah,
Quentin's.
and it got worse with more games that I started getting on the PC. Right,
Yep.
once I learned that, like just from a visual aesthetic, it could be nicer, and then like the ease of some of the shit, like granted, I'm one of the few exceptions, right? Like I get why a lot of people. I don't want to say intimidated, but it's probably the best way to put it. Are intimidated by
Yeah,
the PC. Um, I can see that. Again, for me, like I'm super like techie into shit like that. So a handful of the people I'm surprised don't want to cross because I know who they are and what we all used to do. And you know of what I speak when I say that. I'm surprised that they don't want to be on the PC because it's more in the vein of what they wanted, I guess, to a degree.
yeah. Some
And
people don't know what's good for them. That's part of it also.
fair,
but
fair. Um,
but again,
because from the
there's this.
360 days, like we like like life was saying, like I get it, like I miss some of those people, right? Like because bro, you're talking about like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, bullshitting with somebody,
Ah
um,
man,
talking about
heaven.
their system cracking and you ain't heard from them in months, or maybe they did something to their system and not working. That's why I say like it's kind
Yeah,
of funny for certain people not to want to make that natural evolution, right? Because the PC opens those doors.
yep.
Um, I don't know. It's like outside of shooters, I don't KBM very often. Um, or the MOBAs and shit, games that it lends itself to. I will, but like I was playing Mass Effect Andromeda and I'm using a controller.
Yeah, some
Um,
shit. There's just too. There's too many buttons on PC.
yeah,
Sometimes,
it has
and
its
that
advantages
shit.
and
Um,
disadvantages.
yeah, sometimes you just need that shit simplified down
Yeah,
into something that can be used. Ease of use is sometimes a barrier.
yeah,
I just say it that way.
and I think that's like one of the big like caveats to why people don't make the change is like a console is that it's simple. You don't have to really try. Um, and you really can't be lazy if you want to get your money's worth out of your PC. You can't. You're gonna have to earn it. Like you're gonna have to go look for the. It has it has the availability to make your life so much easier, but you will have to work for it a little bit.
Yep,
We get
and that's
stuff a
that's the
lot of
problem.
times. Yeah, we get a lot of stuff a lot of the times on back end deals or weird deals. We find
Oh yeah,
stuff. Um, to be
price gaming.
yeah to
Finding games for discount prices on PC games way easier, champ.
mm-hmm. And then if you're like me and you want to mod your game, like I don't do it to my multiplayer games to the people that want to bitch and moan. Um, I do it to my single player games because it's fun. I mean, it's no different than people that fucking modded GTA for hyper realistic graphics. It's just something that you want to do sometimes. Um, and like the ease of the ability to do that, you know, you could do it on consoles sometimes, but to be able to access the files easier on PC, like you just open up the game file. Literally, you go find it in your programs, open it up, and then whatever changes you feel like making, if you know where to go, which just a YouTube click away, and you can change.
Yeah,
You want a big titty bitch on the hood of your car? You got a big titty bitch on the hood of your car. And
that's a fact. There's a tutorial for that.
there is. Um, does it risk breaking your game? Yeah. You just uninstall it and reinstall it. There's the
Fact.
caveat to that, right? Like you're not losing most of your shit, whatever. Um, so I don't know. It's. I wish more people would just take the risk. Because I know I hear it a lot. People are like, "Oh, well, gaming PCs cost a lot." Right now, especially, yes. Before all this bullshit happened, no. At the time, you could get a like $700 system that could outdo your Xbox or PS4. Now, because of all the fucking price bullshit, no. But if it calms down, again, for $700, you might be able to get one that at least competes with the PS5 and Xbox Series X. And you're like, oh, that's $700 for a PC, and this only costs. It's like, well, if you bought an Xbox or a PS4, you probably paid over market share at this point because you can't find a motherfucker.
True.
And their price points were still higher than the generation before. So like it seems like each generation we're moving up incrementally, right? Like at what point are you willing to shell out an extra couple $100 And this has
The
been
price gap is becoming less and less.
yeah.
So
And
whereas consoles used to be cheap, $300 consoles, $400 consoles,
now they're
as
five
we
to
move
six.
as we move to the $600, $700 console,
Eh,
the entry point for PC is right around that dollar sign. So,
Yeah,
or it was
yeah.
prior to the
Eh,
craze of the
uh,
market now.
Again,
But
yeah. Prior to that, and still, you could get into one for well, if the graphic cards weren't just completely sold the fuck out, you could have got in and had a good PC that would have lasted you the lifespan of most of the consoles that you will purchase. I'm saying
right,
that because of how often they die, and that's not
shit.
just a knock. That's just not knock at Xbox. PlayStation 4s have had some minute issues for like excessive use.
I would say this right now, where PlayStation 5 is, to me, it feels like we're at about a 1080,
Yeah,
maybe
10.
even a 1080 Ti
Yeah, it's pretty high, but it's not
graphically.
it's not absurd.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not one of those things where you're like, okay, their graphic power is so great that I couldn't build something. And again, for those who may be new to PC gaming, a 1080 Ti is 2 generations ago, so the price point to get in on a 1080 Ti is much lower than what you would find in a 3080 or a 3080 Ti. So the availability may be greater if the market wasn't fucked up,
yeah,
because a lot of those people are looking to upgrade. So it's one of those things where I could build out a PC that graphically and performance, because not only are you getting, what is it? I think they're doing 4K
mm,
at 30 frames, 1080p at 60 frames.
yeah,
Your PC will be able to run similar to that. In 4K, I want to say you wouldn't be too far off.
no,
That's the only part that it may struggle at, is in 4K.
huh,
And what you're getting in 4K from them may not even be true 4K. It could be a scaling 4K.
yeah,
So
and
who knows, man?
my
There's a
big
lot of factors that play into that.
here's the other big thing. So I've expressed how much I'm not a fan of Xbox right now.
Yeah.
My Xbox One's dead over there. For me to get the
You,
parts and
you,
shits, like
hold on, your Xbox One.
yes, One. Um, it's dead over there. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with it. I could
Yeah.
look into it. There's the number one problem. It's hard for me to find out what the fuck actually went wrong with it. Similar to
Yeah.
you had a PC issue. We know where you're at on your PC issue, and you were able to find a fix for it. You were.
It's
For,
it's not it's not that great of a fix,
yeah,
but
but it's
yeah.
it's possible. And like you were back up pretty quick. My Xbox One's been down for the better part of almost a year now. And it
Oh,
pisses me off because I'm gonna have to like run circles to see what it is because it's one of like 3 or 4 issues, and none of those I can technically diagnose easily, right? Like I can't just patch into the motherfucker easily to see what the fuck's wrong with it. And not only that, finding the hardware to fix said problem is even more of a pain in my ass.
oh, don't get me wrong. Now, when you have to fix a problem on a PC, it could be cheap. It
Or it could
could
be
be
expensive.
expensive. Um, the issue, the issue that I had with my PC is that my motherboard coded for uh, missing DRAM, which it wasn't missing DRAM. There was nothing in the DRAM that was causing a flaw. It was just a flaw in the board, from what it sounds like. And the only
Mm,
reason I say from what it sounds like is because as I reached out and started doing more research on it, I was coming across this specific board, which is the Asus Tough Wi-Fi. What is it? The Tough X570 Wi-Fi Plus, or Plus Wi-Fi, or something like that.
yeah.
Um, so for that specific board, I was finding that, oh shit, a lot of people are catching this or
Mm,
having this issue, and they've had it for quite some time. Like it's been one of those things that have it's happened a lot over the
yeah.
years, and and the only solution that I could find that was an available working solution was to flash the BIOS. But to be able to flash the BIOS, you have to be able to boot it. Right now, I can't. It doesn't boot.
Yeah.
So I can't even flash the BIOS on that board. So right now, I'm running an old uh board that I had, the board that I had prior to upgrading, which is an Intel i5. So yeah, that part sucks. I won't even cap. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but again, it
It-
is a solution that I could work out and I could resolve on my own,
yeah.
and I could have it repaired as fast as possible, as long as I have the money available to me to make the changes that I need to make. With Xbox or with a PlayStation, you potentially got to send that shit off.
Or just buy another
And
system.
yeah,
And
yeah.
to send these systems off, what people don't understand, like unless it's like something that they acknowledge as a problem, which is fucking rare, you're paying like a minimum of $200 to send your shit off, which is fucking retarded.
Well, just in shipping costs, because in early on, you had to ship it yourself,
Yep.
and the cost was on you. That was like a $70 cost, $70 $80 cost, because of the additional protection that you had to buy,
Mm-hmm.
and the cost of the system had to be covered. So insurance wise, it was more,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a bunch of shit. And basically, from from your standpoint, I'm sending you a brick, and that's it.
Yep.
This shit is not performing, so it's not really worth me putting the insurance on it. But at the same time, if somebody decides they want to take my $800 brick and take it home with them and see if they can't tinker with it and figure it out and call it their own, aka steal that motherfucker, I would be out of my $800 brick of PlayStation or
Yep.
Xbox. So yeah, at that point, yeah, the cost is there, man. So you got to think about those type of things, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. To me, as somebody who loves to tinker with shit, PC just made sense for me.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people like. Unless you have a graphics card or processor issue, the price isn't horrible most of the time, right? Because I think even your motherboard wasn't insanely expensive, right?
Nah,
Um,
it's about $200 at the most,
yeah,
and that's me looking at. I'm looking up really. My motherboard at the time, I spent maybe 150, 160 somewhere around there, maybe a little less because it was a PC motherboard combo. I mean, motherboard CPU combo.
yeah,
So uh, the board was less than $170 though at that time.
yeah.
Now that same board right now I think runs about 209.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is like everybody's like, "Well, can't you fix your Xbox?" I'm like, "Yeah," but at the same time, like
No,
you can't. Well, I mean, I can, but I can't go find rid of like I can't order a brand new
yeah.
part for my Xbox and guarantee that that fucking part works. I have to eBay buy some turd and hope that that motherfucker didn't lie about whatever's broke on it, and it's not the piece that I fucking need. And I just dropped
Well,
$80 plus shipping on this fucking dick ass
the
Xbox.
the difference is between what Xbox builds and what a PC builder would build out. Everything for them is gonna be hard soldered to the board. There's no need for them. I mean, for the most part,
Yeah,
there'll be boards connected to other boards via screwing things, but for them, it's cost effective to have everything soldered into the board,
yeah.
and that way nothing can go out loose or shouldn't go out loose or anything
Emphasis
like
on
that.
should.
So yeah, yeah, that's why I made that correction. Um, so to repair that, you have to have the skill, which man, I've burned myself soldering quite a few times because you just kind of forget that little nail is fucking hot. It's not a fun thing, and it's not even a nail. You don't forget the nail is hot. You forget the shielding around the nail is hot. So
Yeah.
you're not, you don't think about that shit. You just touch the shiny metal and burn the motherfucking
Yeah.
skin off your fingertips.
And
So I mean, it's one of those things, man.
yeah.
To me, from a maintenance standpoint, from a gaming cost standpoint, Shit is cheaper to have a PC.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend it to anybody. The
Well,
only
outside
problem
of
I
that,
think
you just get more use out of a PC than you do a console. You know what I mean? Like you can
that
do
too.
more things
We are
with it.
well beyond
Like,
the days of trying to travel with our main gaming system if it's not meant to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't really travel. And now, shit, small form factor PCs that are popping up everywhere, which I want to build me one my damn self. Great for traveling with.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a possibility.
Yeah, I think
Damn, dog, I
unfortunately,
feel like we just did a big ass buy a PC commercial.
to an extent.
Like,
Yeah,
holy
I don't
shit.
think consoles are going to go anywhere just because it's too easy for people. And again, a lot of people are just too lazy to invest the time or energy into a computer.
That that's what I think. But moving on.
Um, yeah, but yeah. Other than that, I think we should call it a show. We've been at it for a hot minute.
Yes.
Um, we went down a couple rabbit holes, which was fun. I enjoyed it. Um, y'all got any final thoughts on anything for the week?
Nah, but next show, what did we say? We're gonna think about future gaming, the
Uh,
future of gaming, future games,
then we don't need
something
to.
like that.
We don't need to put. We don't need to put any other topics because I'm telling you right now, that's not a rabbit hole you want to play with me on.
Yeah, I would like to know. I would like y'all to think about it. I would like to know where do y'all see games going? What's a game that your dream game to have them build? If they were
I got
building
it.
something,
I
I
got it
want to
right
know.
now, but that's I'm telling you, that's like an
Yeah,
hour subject in and of itself because it's
that's
pretty fucking detailed.
that's what I want to know. I kind of want to know where your mind is gaming wise. So
Oh, I got
yeah,
that.
we'll table that one for next week.
Cool, cool, cool. All right.
that a wrap, fellas?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
we're gonna call
indeed.
it there. Uh,
Okie dokie.
that was episode 10. I hope y'all enjoyed. Please do, if you're listening, give us some feedback. Uh, drop us a like, send a couple of likes. Thank you for that. Uh, check me out on Twitch. I didn't stream as much this week. Man, it's been hot, and by the time I get home from work, I don't have the energy. It's been hotter than fucking Satan's asshole out here. I
Bruh,
plan I
I'm
plan
gonna
on
just tell
streaming.
you this right quick.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Our temperature, we hit 100 today, right? Our
Yeah.
temperature currently is 77, but it felt like that 77 happened in the span of about 20 minutes, bro. Like
I
literally, it's
understand.
cold in my house. The temperature drops so fucking quick, bro. You walk outside, it is fucking play. It's about to rain like a bitch, but
Chance of rain
uh,
here too. I'm about to drive
it's
through it.
thundering and raining. But I'm just like, man, the way the temperature just changed, bro. This shit is weird, bro.
It'd
Remember,
be
I
wild.
said it here, bro. The robots is coming, and the motherfucking weather has been affected.
This fool. Anyways, please do holler at us. Check out the Twitch stream. I'll be trying to stream more this week. I've got a very little else. Until next time, get on my level, bitches.